Hey everybody, Brian Good here. Welcome to Storm Talk. Main focus is going to be on the setup for tomorrow, and hopefully once we get past that, we'll get back on track and look at the more longer term. It's just a busy weather pattern. All right, today is actually quiet. We like this. No major issues. 54 degrees now. Got a couple 40s showing up outside. We've got a mix of sun and clouds, kind of that hazy, foggy kind of sky at the moment because fog has been trying to develop. Right at the point of sunrise, but that will eventually lift, and we'll be in pretty good shape here today. Actually, really nice day shaping up. The Ohio Valley in general is quiet, but then it gets busy to our west with some showers and thunderstorms. That low pressure really winding up now across the Lone Star State. Severe potential today will be across the Ozarks all the way down into Louisiana. There's a marginal risk that goes to Evansville because of the leftover effects, as I'll show you in a minute, how that fades to the east late tonight. And then tomorrow, it's a good chunk of the Ohio Valley, but notice the moderate risk that has been added for around land between the lakes all the way down into Tennessee, into northern areas of Mississippi. Enhanced risk now and back into wave country. This is almost a carbon copy of the map we had the other day. So only difference is there's a higher level of ranking here on the severity side for that moderate risk into Tennessee. So let's look at a couple of things. First off, let me show you the wide view of how this is going to set up. This is going to be later on for tonight. Here's the low pressure itself. This is where the severe weather is going to be breaking out later on for this afternoon into the evening period. We already see signs of some speckles of maybe a sprinkle or two showing up along the warm front itself that is passing through Evansville later tonight after the midnight hour. And then as we head into close to sunrise, still ongoing. We should still have warnings out. Very active weather across southeast Missouri, approaching eastern areas of Arkansas when you wake up tomorrow morning. Notice again the warm front. You can kind of see hints of it passing through by the time the sun comes up tomorrow. And then as we head toward the midday period, that line weakens. As typically the case, it runs too far out. It gets way too far ahead of the low pressure, all of its support. So when that happens, it just kind of just falls apart. It has nothing to work with anymore. Now that should allow for a cloud canopy, and more than likely mid to high level clouds will then stream over us for the morning period. That's why I think our warming is still expected tomorrow. We've got a forecast time of 80. I still think we'll get there, but it may be a rapid last minute deal in the afternoon. We may end up with this cloud canopy from the leftover showers early in the day. Once those fade out, and then we break out in some sun. But see, that's going to happen a little quicker to our west, and therefore with that low right in here, look at the supercells. This is when they're going to be the most dangerous as far as severities, when they initially pop near the land between the lakes, all the way down to northern Mississippi. And this is going to be tomorrow, late afternoon. This is going to be about 5, 6 o'clock tomorrow is when those begin to fire up. And then by the time we head toward about the 9 o'clock hour or so, they will be entering the western parts of wave country. And then eventually the cells should begin to merge into a line. We've seen this before where they take too long to get to that point, and then you still have the tornado potential that can last a little longer, because the more the individual cells, the more they have their own environment in a sense to work with, and they still pose a large health threat and ability for isolated tornadoes. But the quicker they can get into a line, the tornado threat isn't zero, but it does become lower. They're usually more brief little spin ups. You get more of a damaging straight line wind event, and you also lessen the health threat a bit. And here's a closer view of the way this is looking by 9 o'clock for tomorrow evening. And you see it's still hints here. This is the high-res NAM. Still a hints of the cell structures. It's trying to get to that line portion, but I got to stress, the longer it takes to get to that point, the more we may have to deal with some tornado warnings. And at this point, our western counties are most at risk. So I think the enhanced risk that's out looks prime. In fact, you can almost really argue that it may have to be extended and maybe a bit more north. Into our Indiana counties just west of Louisville. But we'll see how that plays out. And then by the time we get into the evening, it should become more of a line and fade out once it crosses I-65, or at least begin to weaken. Now, this is the cap potential for tomorrow afternoon. There is certainly a cap where you see the yellows and reds. That's a cap. Atmosphere's got a lid on it. Thunderstorms really can't get going. But it's not a solid shield of the cap. So we can't roll out the rain chance. Usually these scenarios, we can take the rain chance down to near zero when you're fully capped in the afternoon. I mean, you may have a perfectly blue sky for a while. And this scenario is a little different. This is a messier look to the warm sector. So it doesn't look to be solidly capped tomorrow, so we can't rule out an isolated thunderstorm that could develop. Obviously, that would mess up our high temperature if that were to happen, but I don't think it's going to be a big deal. And then as we get into the evening, we'll begin to lose that cap, certainly when the storms move through. Now, this is looking at what we call EHI. This is your energy helicity index. So this is how we look at tornado potential. Once you get above, I would say 1.5 to 2 in the values, then you got to start worrying about potential for some tornadoes to certainly develop. And you notice tomorrow afternoon, that 5-6 o'clock p.m. area, that's where you start to get those values. And that's pretty much where they've drawn the moderate risk. By the time it gets into our area, we don't have as many of those high values. I mean, it's notice though the tornado potential it's not 0, but it is certainly a lot lower than what our friends to our southwest have to deal with. And this is all based on the timing, the way it looks now. A lot of things can happen to mess all this up, but everything looks stacked as I just showed you, step by step. That's the way it looks, and I think that is a good forecast right now. Here's our RPM, our in-house model. It shows the warm front tomorrow morning moving through. Here's that leftover activity moving toward us. Note how it fades out, but also notice that it still hints at an isolated pop-up thunderstorm in the afternoon, and see what it's doing to the temperatures. It's kind of messing them up a bit. So it's therefore not as warm as what we're having as forecast to be at 80, because the model is struggling a bit with how much activity could actually develop in the afternoon. But we always, well, I should say always, but we really do well with warming scenarios here locally to get overachieving. So it will be a warm day, and I think we will have some sun breaks. Then we got to deal with the line, and it'll be moving through. Now it brings all the cells into the area, and again it hints at them individualized as well in spots. And then as it approaches I-65, you get more linear, but you also see that it begins to weaken once it crosses 65 during the overnight period, because obviously it's the lack of heating of the day at that point. So still some questions on how this is all going to evolve, but I do think the more west you are, the more of a threat it's going to be, the more the potential is there for tornado warnings and large hail and damaging winds. But everybody has a chance at something that could be damaging. Now, this is going to be a watches and warnings kind of afternoon and evening, it looks like, for Wave Country, so stay tuned for updates.